Yeah. Okay. Can everybody see this? So
Mm.
okay. All right, cool. So treble bob hunting. It is used quite a lot. It's it's a very common treble method. I think most of us should know that the treble always rings something else. Then the other bells, pretty much for all methods, not all methods, but quite a lot of methods that we do ring. And if it's not plain hunting, it would be treble bobbing. And it's just another really repetitive line that is a really strong basis for other methods to work around it. So it's definitely a very, very useful thing to know. It improves your learning on even number bell methods. So pretty much you will only ever ring it on even bell ringing, so on minor or major or royal or maximus, which is a bit different to plain hunting because you can plain hunt on any number. It's widely used. It makes you, it definitely helps with your learning of more methods. Like it's definitely, if you're transitioning into even bell methods, it's definitely a good stepping stone. And and I reckon it's around the time you learn Stedman doubles when would be a good time to learn how to treble bob hunt. Sort of maybe even like before Stedman or after Stedman, but around that sort of area is probably a good time to think, that's when you can start learning treble bob hunt. And one extra thing is that it quite advanced ringing usually has the treble ringing treble bob hunt. So if you can learn treble bob hunt, it means you can be a little bit more useful to more advanced ringers around you, which is good because, I mean, we all want to help out our mates and all that. And so it's quite a handy thing to know. The line. So the line here is in red. I put the line for plain hunt on the right-hand side, just, I guess, to like show the comparison. I'm really sorry, but this is a squashed line while this is more of a stretched out line, but still both lines and both valid to look at. So, I mean, I think we all know plain hunting, you hunt straight to the back, turn around and hunt straight back to the front. A lot of the time you can bring it with rhythm or just like following the bells. While treble bob hunt actually takes twice as long because you're actually making twice as many places or changes in every place throughout the entire lead, the lead being from the start to the finish. So it basically means with every position or like even pair, so even pairs being 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6, you make a dodge in all those positions. So you'll never make a dodge in an odd pair. So you'll never make a dodge in like 2, 3 or 4, 5, which is sort of shown by these lines. So basically every opportunity you can dodge in an even place, you do dodge. And dodges are always with, one bell. There's another bell basically doing the opposite shape to you, going in the other direction. So whoever this bell would be dodging with would be coming this way, dodge, coming this way, dodge, and go to the front as you're going to the back. And so this is the same image. Effectively it's lots of dodging. You should always be dodging. If you're not dodging, you're probably doing it wrong. But I guess you could always, you can see sort of how repetitive it is, which is basically how repetitive sort of plain hunting is. Not that that's a bad thing at all. But it's quite important that you do have control of your bell, because in sort of pulling back to make these dodges, either going to the back or to the front, it does sort of, you really do have to have good control of your bell. Because say you'll be going quick as you sort of hunt towards the back, but sorry, he'll be going slow as you hunt to the back, but to sort of pull back for this dodge here is a quick motion. So like knowing when to pull just one stroke really quick, it could be a hand stroke or backstroke, is quite important, because you want to keep the change right, and then you go back to quick hunting all the way to the back, and then it will be a slow hunting, all the way to the back, and then a quick pull in, then lie, then a quick pull in. And it's the opposite when you're going to the front. So you're ringing quick in general, but when it comes to the dodge, you have one blow where you ring slow, and then it's quick again. And then you'll have a hand stroke point. So it's like leading for just one blow, not two. Hand stroke lead, slow your bell down again for the backstroke in seconds, and then you do a whole lead there. Usually dodging on the front is the hardest aspect for people who do this for the first time ever, because they would have rung the basic methods where you have sort of dodging either sort of in the middle or at the back. That's not such a foreign concept, whilst dodging on the front is usually sort of the new thing people discover when ringing treble bob hunt for the first time. Yeah, and so good to be able to see your bells, make sure you can have control of your bells. So I guess every time you make a dodge, you're actually following the same bell twice. So if you're hunting up to the back, the bell that you follow here is the bell basically at that elbow, will be the same bell that you follow sort of here 2 changes later. And basically because that's the bell you're dodging with. And so a lot of the time whereas in plain hunting, you'll basically tick off every single bell just once, tick them all off, then you're at the back, then you tick them all off again, and now that you're at the front. You basically have to tick bells off twice if you're dodging with them. If you're not dodging with them, it's just ticking them off once. Cool. So learning how to treble bob hunt can be broken down. Try and make it easier for yourself. And hopefully if you have a good ringing master or something, they'll try and do that for you. Because yeah, and so there's basically these 2 learning methods which are quite useful to learning treble bob hunt. First one being Cloister, next one being Basto, and then should be able to ring treble bob hunt minor. And then without too much practice, I mean, you'd want to get really strong on this, but you'd be fine that you'd be able to ring it on 8 without too much more effort. It's kind of like ringing plain hunt from 6 or on 5 in doubles, and then ringing it on 7 for the first time. It probably didn't take you too long to sort of learn to sort of jump that I don't know, that next chapter. And yeah, and so I guess, yeah, so treble bob hunting, I think I already mentioned it, but it can be on any even number of bells as big as you like. And yeah, so the first method would be Cloister, which basically 2 bells do one thing and 3 bells do another thing. So 2 bells do this thirds from the front method, which is basically not really helping you learn, but that's just saying how it is. So the treble on the second does that. The treble is the red line. And then the other 3 bells do the double dodge up and the double dodge down, and then go to the front and lead. Now I know this is double dodging, not single dodging, but it's still, it doesn't sort of ruins people's learning or anything. I mean, and I couldn't really find a method out there if you could just have single dodges at the back and nothing else. But the good thing about this is that you don't dodge anywhere else. You only dodge at the back, and you get used to dodging up as well as down right after each other. So yeah, and then a nice sort of hunt down to lead and hunt back. That's pretty much all just like a normal lead of plain hunt there. So and ringing this over and over again really, really helps. Some people ring this as they learn stemming as well, because basically the back work's the same. But I think if you hadn't rung stemming, this is still a good method to learn or like practice with. Yeah, because basically we want everyone to really get used to sort of dodging at all areas of the change. The next little training method is called Basto. So, which is this line, obviously. And so this treble, which again, you wouldn't be ringing, just make seconds and lead on repeat. And it's basically treble bob hunting, except for on the front. So everyone just leads on the front, but providing you're not on the front, you'll dodge in every other position. So you'll dodge 3-4, you'll dodge 5-6 up, dodge 5-6 down, dodge 3-4 down, then lead, and then start again. And again, just sort of ring this a few times, and hopefully sort of builds up your confidence about ringing like lots of dodges in a row, because there are basically 4 dodges in a row, and really not that much time between you start dodging, finishing your last dodge, and then you start dodging your first dodge again on the way back out. But yeah, but it's from Cloister, it's a nice sort of secondary stepping stone to getting used to all this dodging. And you could learn it off sort of any bell, except for the treble, because the treble doesn't do it. And yeah, and so basically, bit of theory, the every time the treble makes seconds is when everybody else is dodging. But that's just a fun little fact. And then after Basto, the best thing would be just to dive right in. And I mean, starting on 6 is definitely where everyone starts. Like you'll always start ringing on 6, ringing minor. And this is actually two lines of it going on at the same time. So maybe just look at one of the lines, either the blue or the red. The red is definitely more what you do, because basically as soon as someone says go, you dodge straight away, and then you go to 3-4, then you go 5-6 lie, as opposed to this second bell, which is the blue line, which is dodging and then leading and then dodging. Yeah, and so once you get through your first lead or your first time just ringing it, you'll find that you'll have plenty of attempts to get it right, because if you're ringing this, chances are that the other 5 ringers are ringing a method, or they're ringing something that goes for like 5-10 minutes. And this, your little method, that being treble of a hunt, sort of comes back to the start probably every minute. So, you know, you'll, in a touch that goes for 5 or 10 minutes, you'll probably be doing this about 6 or 7, 8 times. And yeah, and so basically every single lead you get to sort of do it again, because you're the bell that defines the lead. And yeah, and so you'll definitely get plenty of attempts to get it right. I guess one thing I haven't mentioned this whole time is that pretty much always there's no tenor bell, because people don't like ringing on 7. It doesn't really sound very musical. And so every time you ring even bell ringing, there's no cover bell, and which means that when you do come back to the front, don't rush your leading. Like, try and be consistent with everybody else. And if you're ringing with a good rhythm, you should find yourself not speeding up or slowing down when you get to the lead, just sort of ringing at a nice constant pace before going back to the back. And yeah, so once you, like, the first or second time you do this, you might find it a bit hard, but once you're at this stage, you'll have plenty of attempts to do it, which is very good. And so you might find that quite soon you could really solidify it, which is what we want, which is really good. This Kent, and so that's pretty much everything to do with treble bub hunting. And what is good about that is that the next thing you learn is actually very, very related to treble bub hunting. And whether or not you ring that method or not, another thing you could do is then consider doing this on 8, because on 8, I don't actually have a line, but it's just another layer of dodging. And that's all it is. Like, you'll have dodge 1 in the 1-2 position, or 1-2 place, dodge in the 3-4 place, dodge in the 5-6 place, and then dodge in the 7-8 place, lie, and then dodge in the 7-8 place, dodge in the 5-6 place, dodge in the 3-4 place, dodge on the front, and then lead again. And that's just how it always is. It's I guess, like, from a line, from a theory point of view, it's quite straightforward. But again, doing it is also a different thing. The next thing you could learn is called Kent treble bub minor. And most of this method is basically treble bub hunting. There's sort of exceptions to that, but it's actually not really worth going into, because you can actually ring this method pretty much without having to sort of learn anything. So basically, as you can see in this blue line, so the red line is treble bub hunting as normal, which is the 1. The blue line is the 6. This lead, it looks exactly like treble bub hunting, except for when the 6 is on the front. It's just not dodging on the front, which is very similar to Basto, which is what I showed earlier on. And for most of this method, or 4 fits of this method, four leads out of 5, that's pretty much what you do. And then the 5th lead sort of makes up for the fact that you didn't dodge, and you effectively stay on the front for that whole lead, making up all the dodges that you didn't do. But I'm not really going to dive into that, because that's not really what this talk is all about. And you would learn that as a separate method. But if you got a nifty conductor, they'll be able to get you to ring this so that you never go onto that 5th lead that's a bit different, and you could just ring this. And yeah, and that's quite fun, and that's quite encouraging because I mean, this is also not from the treble. This is from not just the 6, but it could be from a heavier bell like the 4 or the 5. And then just to reiterate that a bit more, I'm showing a line of Kent on 10. So this lead here is that crazy lead, which is different to everybody else, where basically you're making lead seconds the entire time. But if you look everywhere else, it's basically just the same thing. It's just, I know it's on 10 bells, so they're going, there's 5 dodges from the front to the back, but it's all just treble bub hunting, except for that leading at the front. And like, I could show you a line of treble bub minor, but it's actually a little bit confusing because there are exceptions to the rule. And if you look too closely, and on minor, the sort of, it looks more like the exception than the rule, while on higher numbers, I can really reiterate the point that it's basically mostly just treble bub hunting with a little bit of not treble bub hunting here and there. And yeah, and so Kent is definitely a method that gets rung quite a fair bit, or it can be. And yeah, and so to conclude, yeah, it works on treble bobber hunting works on any number of even bells. It's a great stepping stone to learn new things, especially on even bell ringing. It's definitely good for learning ringing more without the tenor, get more confident without having a tenor. And yeah, and you'll be able to participate in more ringing with other ringers. So like, even if you are just ringing the treble, you can ring quite advanced things, because I mean, everyone needs a treble ringer. Like, you can't not have a treble ringer for the majority of methods. And yeah, and which is definitely quite useful. And yeah, and so you'll definitely be able to participate in more things. Say if you ever go like traveling to some places in the UK, you might stumble upon a slightly more advanced tower than not. You might still be able to ring in whatever they're ringing, just by ringing the treble, or just by ringing treble bob hunt, because they might be doing something that's just so off this planet that you don't know what's going on. But providing the treble still treble bob hunts, which is basically 99% of all even bell method ringing, you'll be able to participate, and you'll be able to sort of join any sort of team and help them out. And yeah, so I guess it's just the next sort of step up from plain hunting. Like for the treble only ever does, in most methods, the treble does plain hunting or treble bob hunting. And we all like having good solid treble ringers. And yeah, it's definitely a very, very good thing to know. And yeah, I think hopefully I haven't gone too quickly or too slowly, but that's everything I had. Were there any questions?
I just had one on that second last slide. Can you bring that back up?
Yeah, there's one.
Yeah, this one. So I can see the front. It's all like, I'm looking at the 6. So it does nothing fancy. It's
The 6.
So it's sort of treble bob hunting without the hunting at the front, just leading at the front.
So without the dodging at the front.
Without the dodging at the front. So then it does something funny halfway down the second line.
Down here.
Is that where? Yeah. And
so that is one of those exceptions. So 2 places right after each other is sort of the equivalent to a dodge, in that you still make the same amount of changes. Like, so a dodge takes up 4 changes. 2 places also make 4 changes. That is part of sort of the theory of Kent. That being that you'll if treble is below you, if you can see my cursor.
Yeah.
If the treble is below you in 3/4, you have to make places. So the other places you see it, like, so you see it here in 3/4, treble's below them here, because the treble's below them in 3/4. But I guess that's
another way to look at it is it only happens when you 4th place bell and 3rd place bell.
Yeah,
it's another
another way.
Thing,
but
okay.
But I mean, it's really sort of a separate thing. You don't really need to know that side of treble bob or Kent to know treble bob, because I mean, you could even ring. You could ring Kent without any of these places. They could all be dodges, but the method would be false, which is why that they included the places so it wouldn't be false. Because basically you'd repeat the change every second change if we didn't have those places. So which is what we don't like in ringing.
Okay.
But yeah, no, but Kent's a good method. And yeah, I mean, I'm sure at St Mary's they might be able to teach you Kent minor quite soon.
Kent does get wrong a little bit there, at least it did in the last year.
What was that, sorry?
Kent major and minor have been wrong at branch practices in the last year.
Yeah, that's true.
And at St Mary's, I think.
Yeah. It's definitely a good thing. Like, it's something that people will learn when they get to this stage. But then I guess it's a little bit forgotten when you get beyond this stage, because then sort of the next couple of methods just a little bit more interesting. And so, you know, if anyone ever wants to ring Kent, I'll always be like, yeah, of course. But I don't think people who sort of go to the next rung of their learning sort of look back on Kent too much.
Okay. Yep.
Any other questions? Anything?
Not a question, but just to reiterate what you said before
Mhm.
about being able to treble bob hunt. When I was learning to ring, once I learned how to treble bob hunt, I was useful in other people's quarter fields, as James was saying before. But I think it really helped me. Like James was saying, it's really good at establishing that rhythm. And so being able to move forward and backward a place kind of on demand. And that, I think that gave a really solid foundation to me to be able to then ring more things myself. So I wasn't just helping other people out. It was actually really beneficial for me. So I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, no, it's definitely all very true.
Any other questions? No. All right. Well, thanks, James. That was great. Great introduction.
That's all right. Not all right.
Stop the